Laurie, I'm really glad you're doing this with me. How you feeling today, buddy?
I'm really good. My husband had some medical tests this morning, so we were up pretty early.
Yeah.
And Tannen's gone off to see a friend. She gets to take the bus and go to the mall.
Oh, wait,
And
don't go that far, but that's a good teaser. Okay, what's something you want people to understand about you right away?
I think my motto is kindness overall. That is who I am. Everything I do is driven by being kind, unless I'm in the car and then I'm maybe not so
That's
kind.
regulated.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you
Mhm.
choose kindness after like because you're only a couple of years older than me. You have a little bit more experience than me. How do you still choose kindness?
Because, well, first off,
Yeah,
I have a
yeah, yeah.
tattoo on my arm to remind me, even if, right? My tattoo has an elephant because elephants are naturally the fiercest mothers on the planet. And I just always try and put myself in someone else's shoes. Doesn't mean I don't get frustrated and I have my moments, but I always try now not to respond right away. I sit on things, in the group. If somebody has a problem with something that I've said, I sit on it. I might vent to somebody.
But not
No, I'm just like, oh, this guy's having a bad day, or
right.
whoa,
Yeah.
this is really challenging and I'm not sure,
So
right?
even on those, you're still choosing kindness.
I'm still choosing kindness. Very seldom do I lose my, like I said, unless I'm in the car and nobody's with me.
Yeah.
And I think in accommodating my daughter, I have learned how to build accommodation into my life. I also accommodate my husband. You and I've
Beautiful.
talked, my husband is also neurodiverse. It's a little bit harder because I came to the understanding that he was neurodiverse after 35 years of marriage.
Agreed.
All my frustrations, the more I learned about the brain, the more I went, oh my God, this is what's going on here. This is why he's so rigid. This is where we are. So I've learned how to build it in across the spectrum of my life.
How did FASD become a part of your
Okay.
life? So, Lori, take us back, dude. Take us back. How did FASD first become a part of your life?
I've worked for the government for 25 years and, just retired.
Congratulations, dude.
I don't know what retirement feels like because it has not slowed down in any way, shape, or form. But when I first started working for the government, I supported a committee that no longer exists, but it was the Social Care Facilities Review Committee. And they visited foster homes and group homes. And we provided training for them. And we had Donna DeBolt come out and do a training on FASD. So this would have been 23 years ago. I became really interested in, like, Donna DeBolt is
Hey,
so engaging.
episode 100, baby. Donna DeBolt, my mentor too, just the bomb.
Yeah, she's just so engaging. And I remember sitting there. I mean, I'm not there for the training, I'm there to
Yeah.
support the individual.
Yeah.
Like, you take it in. And I remember sitting there going, oh my God, this has to be so incredibly difficult for these children. So that's where I first came to understand what FASD was.
How did you, because you mentioned Tannen, right? Anybody
Yeah,
a part of our groups knows Tannen, and she knows we're talking about her?
she does know we're talking about her.
Great, okay.
She
And
loves it when we talk
I
about
know,
her.
I know. How did you meet Tannen, and what were some of those early days like?
So when I first met Tannen, our then Minister of Children's Services, Iris Evans, helped to form the Alberta Mentoring Partnership. And as part of that, she developed a program where staff were allowed to go and mentor kids in school. So an in-school mentoring program with what was then Big Brothers Big Sisters. And so I signed up because I'd always wanted to be a big sister. But
Mhm.
with three boys playing hockey, baseball, football,
Oh,
what
no.
parent is going to let me show up at 2 or 3 in the morning when I have time? Like, it's just
Great.
not going to work.
Hmm.
So when this opportunity came up, I jumped on it. And all I asked for, because we have three boys, even our dogs were male at the time, and the
Oh,
river of
just a
testosterone
testosterone.
that flows through the
We just
hallways
said
of
it at
my
the same
home
time. Okay.
more than any woman should ever have to
Fair.
navigate.
I
When you're
just
the
wanted a
only
lady.
female,
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing I asked for was a little girl. They do a really good job of interviewing you and finding out what your likes are, what your strengths are. And our youngest son, Michael, who you'll hear about probably later, had off the chart ADHD and moderate Tourette's and anxiety. So when I put that as my experience, they went, light bulb, right?
Okay.
We can give some kids that have challenges. And so Tannen was my third match. She was in grade one, and she had the most beautiful black braids. Like they were just that shiny black.
Indigenous, right? Yeah.
Indigenous,
Just
yes. Yeah, she's from Saddle Lake Cree Nation. Urban Indigenous, right? Her mom left the reserve
yep.
and has never lived on reserve. She was very confused as to why this woman with red hair, not the silver that I have now, would show up. And I had long painted nails, and she was absolutely mesmerized by my nails. She was really confused as to why this woman kept showing up every week. It made her feel special because somebody came to the door and said, Hey, Tannen, come here. I'm here to see you. And she got to leave the classroom, and everybody else had to stay behind.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, Tannen's family lived in poverty. They struggled with addictions. Mom and dad both were in full addiction. I believe both dealt with FASD,
Yeah,
family
the
history,
diagnosis.
intergenerational trauma.
A diagnosis is a diagnosis for two, right?
Absolutely. And so, you know, Wednesdays soon became the best day of the week. And I got to go and spend an hour with her. And, you know, as the OFG, people think the fairy godmother is going to follow all the rules. I did not. You know, they were like, you can buy a little tiny gift under $5 at Christmas. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. You know, it's reading based, and I would paint her nails and I would take her outside because I found out really quickly that she got regulated when she was on the swing.
Right.
Absolutely loved being on the swing. So it didn't take me long to realize that this little girl has FASD.
What was the first moment where you realized, oh, this is definitely what it is, and subsequently, this is bigger than what most people understand?
Yeah. You know, her favorite book was Green Eggs and Ham. She had memorized the book, couldn't read it, and it was really hard to keep her focused on anything. I mean, severe, severe ADHD. But when I took her out on the playground and the swing became just her safe place,
Right.
I went, I think Donna DeBolt talked about that. And I went, I think this is FASD, right? And she was having trouble in the classroom. She was picked on. She became the class bully because she was bullied,
Right.
right?
Defenses up,
She,
right?
right? And this
Mhm.
poor little girl, I mean, I asked for pink, and I shouldn't say poor little girl,
Yeah.
but this little girl dressed like a boy, talked like a boy because she had five brothers. And the only clothes in the house were boys' clothes.
Right.
There was no pink. There was no frilly skirts. There was no unicorn.
Mhm.
You know, I was raised old-fashioned Catholic mom. You know, I have to go to the bathroom. She'd go, I gotta go piss.
Gotta go.
Yeah. So, you know, and she'll still say that, and I'll kind of,
Yeah. Oh
right?
God, I love.
You know,
Okay.
I wanted was pink, and I got a female. I
You
got a
got
little
you
girl,
got piss.
and I
Now
got that, right?
you got a brash indigenous young
Yep.
lady whom you
Yep.
loved, right? Let me ask you this then. What was the hardest part in the early years that you wish someone had told you?
I wish that they had been able to tell me that she had FASD because she had been diagnosed at that point. But again, because schools hide behind FOIP and they don't give people like
FOIP, what's
me
that?
freedom of information and
Okay.
protection of privacy, which
Look
they've
who
now
you're
changed.
talking. Look who you're
Yeah,
talking to.
they wanted to protect her information, and I get that. I met with the principal. I met with her teachers. I
Because you work for
asked
the
what.
government. So tell people like that's your skill set a little bit because you were assistant minister or so you were like
So I was an executive administrator for an ADM. in strategic
So you were going to
services.
meetings because
Yeah,
that's what you do with us till now. I
is
didn't
my
ex
thing.
and so you use that skill.
Yeah, and managing calendars and doing all that wonderful stuff. So I was an organizer, right? And as the oldest child in a family of five myself, I was a people pleaser. I wanted to help fix things. I wanted to make things better. And with my experience with my younger son, I had to do a lot of advocating at the schools. I had to do a lot of fighting for IEPs and understanding who he was and providing accommodations before I even knew I was providing accommodation,
Right.
right?
So the earlier part, you would hope that someone would have told you that there was the disability so
Yeah,
that you could have started with accommodations rather than instead of including it
yeah.
last. You
I
already
did,
had a diagnosis, so you would have preferred if someone would have
yeah.
told you that.
They had back in the day, so Tannen's 27 right now.
Hmm.
When she was in kindergarten, they actually had a doctor that went to inner city schools and did FASD diagnoses.
Yeah.
Different than what they do now. It was an inner city school that had a high Indigenous population
Right.
and also a lot of families in poverty. It wasn't just Indigenous. So there was a lot of FASD in that school.
So you had your relationship, and you mentioned there was a time because you talk about this. This is how I know this
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you were very open with our members and our community. So there was a time Tannen pulled away, right?
Because when she was in grade three, she was taken into care and removed from her mom.
Right.
And I was unable to go see her because as an in-school mentor, you only see the kids in school. So we
Mm,
didn't know, was she coming back to the school? We didn't know how long it would take, if she was coming back at all. So I ended up phoning Biggs and saying, this isn't working for me. They had called me to say, don't come that Wednesday because she's not here. And because I worked for the government and I'd signed oaths and all of this, they felt they were able to share a little bit more information with me. My office was right across the alley from the crisis unit where she was,
okay.
and I couldn't go see her. I couldn't give her a hug, tell her I would find her, that I'm always going to be here. And that killed me. I stood at the window and the tears were just pouring because she was scared and didn't know what was going to happen. And I couldn't help her.
Say you're in a little deep at this point.
I was so
Yeah.
far deep. I was like, I
Right.
was,
Not that you love her
yeah,
and you
not because I was supposed to, but just because she was a little girl and she deserved.
obviously empathize, and all of
Yep.
a sudden you had to put that mama bear rage because your kids are older now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So it's imprinting almost like in the
yep.
I hope everyone
Yeah.
understands.
So then fast forwards, because I worked for the ministry, I was able to connect with her caseworkers. If I didn't like what was going on, I called the ADM for protective services and said, hey, this is what's happening. I don't think it's right. I could call the caseworker and go, can you look into this? Because Tannen's told me this, and I'm not
Right.
sure what's going on. So I began advocating for her.
There was a time that she pulled away, right? And what was that like for you emotionally?
It was horrible. She was going into grade 10 and she started experimenting with drugs and alcohol, following in older brother's footsteps, self-medicating. She was in foster care, and unfortunately, there are so many amazing foster parents out there who do unbelievable work with our kids and all kids. And unfortunately, Tannen didn't get that. So she didn't have a whole lot of support, and they were adding to the trauma. They were just layering trauma on top of trauma. And so she decided she didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore. When I raised red flags with her caseworker about she's drinking, I don't know if she's doing anything else, but here's the pictures, and sent pictures that I'd seen on Facebook. And they went out and talked to her, and she goes, oh no, I tried it once. That was one time only. And, I don't need a big sister anymore. And so the caseworker came back to me and said, yeah, she doesn't want you anymore.
the caseworker told you what she said.
Yeah.
Oh,
So she just said she doesn't want to see you anymore. And I was like, you know that she's lying. And, you know, to give them a fair shake.
okay.
So
So, well,
I
what did
reached
you
out, so I
with
reached
this?
out to Biggs
Mhm.
and I said, Tannen doesn't want to see me anymore, but please don't close our file. I know she's going to come back to me.
What did you do during that particular season? So you already mentioned one thing. So when I say what did you do during the season to keep the door open without chasing or controlling, you mentioned that you kept the the file open.
And I had friends. She had friended a bunch of my friends on
Right,
Facebook who would
right.
send me pictures and go, did you know this was happening? And then I would forward them to the caseworker and I would just say, still, want to be involved. Just want you to know this is what's going on. And I just, energetically, I think I just kept her in my heart. Every time I thought about her, I sent her all the good vibes. I sent her all the healing. I sent her all the love that I could muster. Then she ended up in a group home. So she went through a really difficult time. Started using crystal meth, was having violent outbursts, had stints in PCHAD, which in Alberta is where a parent can have a child held against their will in order to detox and
I
try and
understand.
get them.
Almost warmed a little.
But she ended up in a group home. And the manager of the group home saw a picture of me with her and said, "Who's that?" And she said, "Oh, that's my old big sister." And she says, "What do you mean old?" She goes, "Well, I don't see her anymore." She said, "Well, why not?" She goes, "Oh, I hurt her really badly." And the manager, who we are still in touch with, said to her, "Who was she for you?" And she said, "Well, she was everything. She took me to see my mom when my mom was sick in the hospital. She had me over for Christmas. She gave me my voice."
Flowers is what you was
Yeah.
doing.
And the manager looked at her and said, "Well, if she was all that for you, she's going to want you to call her." So
Mhm.
she did. And I was changing jobs. She called the day before I had to turn in my cell phone, and the cell phone was the only number she had. If the universe wasn't putting things together, I don't know what was.
When she came back into your life, how did you respond?
I missed you. The difference was she was now addicted to crystal meth and alcohol.
Right.
We went to football games.
Because she
By
was
this
still
time,
there, like when you
she was
re-met,
still
like,
there, but her anxiety would ramp up. We'd have to leave. We were at a football game once, with 30 or 40,000 people, and she took off on me. But she would always come back eventually. Like she always would come back to me.
what's the one thing you learned from that chapter that you still carry with you today?
That I can only provide accommodations and understanding. And when I approach her with that in mind, I have way better outcomes.
Mm,
When I come at things from a perspective of you have to let her be her, she wants to be normal, she wants to be all of the things, and I let that happen as best I can,
mm,
then I have better outcomes.
mm-hmm. And the one thing is you're supporting her. People are seeing this. And then if I get this right, Children's Services ends up asking you to become her guardian around this
Yeah.
time, right? Right. Were you already thinking, like, what went through your mind?
I thought when she aged out of care that she would end up in a group home and that I would support her just like I always had, right? And that we would continue our relationship no matter if she aged out of the Bigs program or aged out of care. I just knew I would always be in her life. And when they called and said, "Would you consider becoming her legal guardian and trustee?" I was like, "Oh, okay." Made a few phone calls to the Office of the Public Guardian and Trustee, asked a bunch of questions, and then I went to my family and said, "What do you think?" And every single one of them, my husband and our three sons, all said, "Mom, you're already doing it. Why not do it with the authority you should have?"
So is that what made you say yes?
Yep,
Yeah. They
yep,
say like you're already doing it. And then when the kids give
yep,
you the thumbs up because you know a little bit about it because of your background and being a mom and
yep.
Tannen and all this. But what surprised you about guardianship that you fully didn't understand until you were actually in it?
You know, what surprised me is the amount of kickback that you get with, well, she's an adult. She's 18. She can make decisions. Well, no, she can't. I have this piece of paper and I have, a judge has deemed her incapable of making those decisions. We don't make a decision without me having a conversation with her. So is she involved? You bet she is. But when it comes to her safety, that's the hill I die on. And that's the only one that I will go, no, 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 we're not doing that. Right?
And so then subsequently, what is one thing that you're proud of and how you've shown up for her through all of this?
She would tell you that she's still alive. And I think I'm most proud of the fact that not only is she still here with us, because we've had our moments, we've had suicide attempts, we've had overdoses,
Right.
and didn't have a cold for 3 years. So, what I'm most proud of is that my family has stepped up. My boys call her their sister. She calls me mom. And,
Mhm.
I haven't formally adopted her, but that doesn't matter. She's changed her name because her last name, her dad's name was a trigger for her. And so she wanted our last name. And we said, absolutely, you can have that. But how about you hyphenate it with your mom's name? And so she's Tannen Red Crow Anderson. And she is so proud of that.
If I know that,
It's been about 3 years now. I think I announced it in the
you,
group, right?
but look who you're talking
Um,
to also. Subsequently,
yeah.
shame on me.
Yeah.
That's a badass name, by the way.
And what it does is it allows her to hold on to her Indigenous heritage. I got permission from her mom's family to do this. I took my time to make sure that she really truly wanted it. And, we got the paperwork 2 weeks before Christmas, 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And so I took the new birth certificate, the new social insurance card, and I framed it and I wrapped it up and I gave it to her. And I have a video of it. It just brings me to tears every time. She opened it and realized what it was before she'd even finished taking the paper off. And she started crying. And my daughter-in-law reached over, grabbed, and said, "Can I see that?" Gave her a moment, and I'm watching, trying to go, when do I jump in? When don't I? And we let her have her moment. Brienne looked at it and went, "Oh, Tannen, this is beautiful." And she looked up and she screamed at the top of her lungs, "I'm an Anderson." And my boys were, everybody clapped and screamed, and the grandkids went over and gave her a big hug. And then afterwards, when things had settled down, because you can imagine we had 13 people in the room and, crazy kids opening gifts. And as things calmed down, our middle son went over and he got down because she was sitting on the floor and he got down on his knees and he looked at her and he said, "Show me this mother effer." And she showed it to him and he looked at her and he said, "It's about effing time." So, what I'm most proud of is not only that she's part of our family. If I've done nothing right, we've raised some really amazing human beings.
Yeah, that is
And
so
that
sweet.
our boys have been able to step up and help where they can. And, do they get frustrated? You bet. Do they go, "I can't, I'm tearing my hair out"?
Yeah.
Yes, they do, right? But they're willing to work with me and they care about her.
Well, that's so sweet. When you were looking for support, what were you hoping to find?
I was so frustrated because I had this young woman who we got her into treatment as soon as she turned 18 in June. And in August, we got her into treatment, an Indigenous focused treatment program. but they wouldn't accommodate FASD. They didn't care that she was 18 going on 8. They didn't care that she couldn't handle what they were giving her. They kept her safe for 4 months. And she has been clean of crystal meth for 9 years and 5 months. It's fantastic, and I'm so proud of her. But they wouldn't accommodate the FASD, and I was so confused because if anybody should be accommodating fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, it would be alcohol recovery centers.
I agree, dude. Once you see it and you know it, and you're like,
Yep.
why doesn't everybody, like, can't
Yep.
you? So then fast forward, you're in our community. And what is it about our community that made you stay and keep coming back?
It was the people. I could post whatever I wanted. When I first joined, I got so much support, and I found out I'm not alone. I'm not doing anything wrong per se. I'm a good person.
Okay. Do you remember a moment where you realized I'm not alone? Was there a specific, it's okay if there wasn't, but was there a specific where you were like,
I think it
holy,
was when I talked about running and I got, oh yeah, we've been through that, the lack of impulse control. When I talked about trauma, and
right.
she's experienced almost every trauma you can imagine.
So even
Yeah.
though you had this experience, you did all this for the right things, it
And
was still frustrating and you were still, okay, what? People aren't accommodating. You find our group. Question for you. How
yeah,
did support change the way you showed up either at home, because you also talked about your husband, and or
hmm
with Tannen, right?
so support looked completely differently. What I learned was that I couldn't use what I learned from my parents, and that love wasn't enough. I couldn't love her out of this. I could love her, and that would make a difference, but I couldn't fix anything with love. What I had to do was change the way I approached her and changed my level of frustration
Mm.
around, right? I mean, Tannen would bolt. She called it bolting. She would run. Her go-to is flight. And if she can't run, she'll fight. And man, can she fight, right? So we learned really quickly, nobody's stopping her. She's going to run, she's going to run. And then I learned really quickly, and don't chase her. And she would run in the middle of dead winter. I'm in Alberta, Canada. We
Mm.
have like 4 feet of snow out here right now. And she would run in bare feet, stocking feet, no coat. And I learned, okay, we're just going to follow her.
So is it fair, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that
Yeah,
support when these things were happening, at minimum with our group, allowed you to normalize them, that you weren't alone? Do you see where I'm trying
absolutely.
to get at? I'm trying to think if
Yeah,
our parents are listening here to this.
that I was not alone, that I wasn't doing anything wrong, and it wouldn't matter what I did, this could still happen. It wasn't about me. It was about her brain.
Yeah.
That's what made the biggest difference.
It's fucking hard to do that.
Isn't it? It
Right?
still
Hence what
is
we do
hard.
for living.
There
Okay.
are still days.
For the folks that don't know, how did you become a moderator?
You phoned me. You and I had had a couple of conversations. You had asked one time what I wanted people to know about FASD. You put that on in the group.
Yeah.
If you're interested, put your phone number
That,
in.
yeah, absolute first time because I put an
That you and
APB
I
on the group. Yeah.
talked.
And you took our online program.
And then I did the workshops, and you
Yeah.
called me and said, hey, we need a new moderator. And Alex, God love him,
God rest his soul.
another moderator at the time, Debbie, had said, I think you should talk to Laurie. And you said why, and they told you, and they went, okay. So you
And
called me,
yes,
and
at
it
the
was
same
COVID, working at the kitchen or the dining room table with everybody home. You sent me a message that said, hey, can you talk? And I'm like, sure, why?
yeah.
And that was the beginning of it.
Because you were answering it. I was reading posts and you would answer. I'd go, who wrote it? And then I'd look and I was like, it's you, it's you, it's you. And so, yes, they did mention you. And I am glad they did. Now, let me ask you this What do you think your role is as a moderator in one sentence?
To let parents know that they have a place to go to be supported and understood, that they're not alone. Soft place to land. Yes. Welcome, everyone. Soft
That's
place
good.
to land.
So it's our free group and it's a private group, but oftentimes we get first posts, people in crisis, upset. Like when you see those posts as a moderator, what's the first thing that you try to do for them?
You aren't alone. There are so many parents here that can relate to what you're going through. You are not a bad parent, right? So many times our parents are gaslit, right? It's your problem. If you just disciplined them more, if you were a stronger parent, they wouldn't be this way. And, this isn't just teachers and principals and daycare workers. This is family, friends. Everyone has an opinion on how you should parent, and they think they know best, and they have no idea. I've been doing this for 6 years, and even after 6 years and being a coach, one of the questions I ask myself is this a teaching moment?
Right.
Can we help this caregiver understand what's going on so that they can go back to their child and handle things in a different way and have better days at home? Nikki, one of our moderators, is a birth mom.
Oh, yeah.
And if I have problems or I have a concern about a post, then I will go to her and I will say, Nikki, does this trigger you? Is this a teachable moment? Are you okay with me trying to make a difference here?
We just want to provide support, And
We,
yeah, so let me ask you this. For the caregivers, like you mentioned, that are living in constant fight or flight right now, what do you want to
yeah,
say to them?
to breathe, and that they're not alone, that there are so many of us out there that have been through exactly what they've been through. I can't tell them it will get better, but I can tell them that there are ways to help mitigate these problems. And I can share what I know. Some
That's
people
nice.
are open to that, and some people aren't. And that's okay because I know what works and I've seen the results, not just with my daughter, but I've seen it with members of our
Agreed. But you're
groups.
saying nothing
Yeah.
happens until you regulate.
You can't be a lit match walking into a firework factory. I will tell parents, go for a walk. And if you can't go for a walk, go stand at your window and find a glimmer. Find something outside, whether it's a flower, a piece of ice, something that you can connect with, that you can just breathe through and go, okay, now I can do that.
I like it.
Now I can turn around and deal with what's right in front of my face.
What does a good day look like now for you compared to early years?
A good day is Tannen is happy. She feels like she's contributing. She feels like she's growing. So she can attend programming. And, you know, her and I are connected throughout the day. A good day is when she's saying, Mom, this happened. Today is Tannen's mom's birthday. And we always, after when she gets home today, we will go out, we will smudge, we will sit down and have a conversation with Anne. And Tannen will tell her what she's proud of that she accomplished this year. She'll tell her where she's struggling. And she'll tell her, I hope you're proud of me. We have had so many situations where we also light a candle and the candle gets blown out when we're done, just as Tannen's finished saying what she wants to say, or the wind blows the smoke right towards Tannen. Like there are so many signs that she's being heard. And so a good day is being connected, right? Being able to talk about what's bothering her, her coming to me and telling me we still have issues with her taking things she shouldn't. She was at respite on the weekend, and our son left his wallet on the microwave, and there was money in it from our grandson. Michael doesn't usually have cash in his wallet. She took $20. So Michael went to her and said, Hey, Tannen, did you take $20 from my wallet? And of course, our kids always immediately go, nope, nope, self-preservation. They go into that mode immediately. And Michael just looked at her and said, come on, kiddo. Are you telling me that my wife took the money out of my wallet? It's Zach's money. It's not even mine. And she reached in her pocket and she said, no, I took it. She gave it back to him. And so Michael said, okay, thanks. And she looked at him and he says, done, over with. You gave it back, all good.
I know their baseline, right? Sometimes they can go back to their baseline so quick and then they expect you to do it and you're still
Yeah.
steaming like a mofo, like you're
Yeah.
still
Well,
just mad. You're not ready to do it.
but what I'll do is I'll do what I know I need to do. And
Yeah, for sure.
but the really interesting part about this is I picked her up Monday morning. She had a doctor's appointment. And I said, hey, kid, how was your weekend? She goes, it was good. I knew this had happened because Michael had called me because he always shares what happens at their house. And off we go to the doctor's. And she's sitting, we're in the doctor's office because she has huge white coat syndrome. So I go into every appointment with her, no matter what we're talking about.
What's white coat syndrome?
She is terrified of doctors and her anxiety, she will bolt,
Makes
she
sense.
will, right? So I go in with her. We're sitting there waiting for the doctor to come in. And I said, so what did you get up to on the weekend? You said it was a good weekend. So what did you do? What made it good? She goes, well, I watched a movie. I stole $20. I ate some chips. I went, and I said, what happened?
Oh.
And she says, but I gave it back. And Michael says, it's all good. And I'm telling you the truth, Mom. I said, wonderful.
It reminds me of like, there's lots of moments where you're proud, right? When you're able to
Yeah.
sit back and feel proud with Tannen. Going back to the group a little bit, like when you see people come in, because we get lots of people that come in,
Yeah.
what do you hope a new member feels within the first 48 hours of joining our free group?
Oh my God, I found my people.
Oh,
I am not alone.
yeah.
These people are amazing. And I will tell you, I have gotten some amazing messages and some
Hmm.
amazing comments in the group about you make me feel so valued and
Oh,
you make me feel like I'm not alone. I know when you speak up, I need to listen. And that for me just like melts my heart because what I know is that if they're listening and they're taking in what we're saying, we're making a difference for these children.
yeah, that's right. Heck yeah. And we're
Yeah.
empowering the caregiver for sure. And we're helping them detox from guilt and it, because
Yeah.
those are all those layers. Having
Yeah.
information on FASD is great, but there's a lot that goes into actually creating more good days, but it's totally doable. But with all this, because you're newly retired,
Yeah.
but you're still busy with your kids, with your grandkids, you moderate our group, you coach some of our other groups. How do you take care of yourself? Tell the people how you take care of yourself emotionally as a moderator so you can stay
Yeah.
get the ready, right?
I have an outlet. I have people I can go to and go, oh my effing God, right? This happened or this happened. And holy, I want to absolutely string her up but I know I can't. So I need, I got these people that go, oh, Laurie, that's hard. I get that. I understand
Yeah,
that. And I go out to we have a cottage.
there
I
we
go
go.
out
You have
with
people,
nature.
places, and things.
Yeah, I go out to the cottage and I sit on the deck and I listen to the birds and I sit on the end of the
Dude,
tree. I garden
you,
and I find the glimmers in a beautiful flower. If I've had a tough day, and we had a really, really tough day this summer, when I could breathe, because we had an incident and Tannen got physical,
mhm.
and when I could breathe, right? Michael, our son, helped regulate me, got me, I knew who to call. And I just walked around my yard and looked at all my flowers and I took my shoes off, which I don't do often,
Right.
and I got my feet in the dirt and I just got grounded. Michael Harris, one of our coaches, is always talking about the beauty of nature and how it can bring us back to our
And
baseline,
science too. Uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh.
And I do that, right? And I talk, I don't hold it in. I tell people, and in our group, I will share some of the things that happened with
Yeah.
me.
Mm.
Can't predict when you combine trauma and FASD. Let me tell you, there is no predicting what's going to happen next. And we know that having FASD is a trauma, first and foremost. Being adopted or in care is trauma. So our kids often have a lot of trauma that we don't even think about. We think, especially those who have adopted or in foster care, well, I'm giving them the love, I'm giving them a stable home, I'm giving them their own room and things they didn't have before.
Hmm.
That's something they're not connected to their birth family. They're not to birth mom. It's trauma.
Are you hopeful for the future? And has
I
your
am.
definition of success changed?
Yeah, I am hopeful for the future. I tell Tannen I want her to live her best life, not my best life, not what I think should be her best life, but her best life. This summer, when we had this incident, she thought that she could live on her own and didn't want my help. Again,
Are you talking about Tara or Tannen?
Tannen. But I
Hey,
can
white
get where
square.
Tara might say that too.
Yeah.
You know, when we had this incident and, I needed a place for her to stay because clearly she couldn't stay with us. And her support home was, well, if she can do that with you, then I can't have her here because they have a little one. So my oldest son stepped up and his partner, and they went and picked her up. And we had a family meeting a few days later. I let her come down, and we think there was a couple of things involved in this, some TikTok comments, but also she was on a new med that we think put her into a bit of psychosis. And so we said to her, you want to live on your own? Okay, we'll give you some phone numbers. We'll give you a start, but you have to phone them. You have to figure it out. You
Mhm.
have to go to your support home and pack up your stuff. We had the incident on the Thursday. We met on Sunday. And on the Monday, I got a text message from her boyfriend saying, Tannen's saying some really strange things, and I don't know what to make of it. And I said, what's she saying? And he said, well, she can't go home to her support home. And I said, well, she's not wrong right now, but she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to go there. She wants to live on her own. And he's like, she can't do that. And I was like, well, you and I know that, but she needs to figure it out. And we have to. So the best thing you can do is just keep reminding her that we love her and we will support her the best way we can. And so she called me because he texted her and said, I can't be with someone who doesn't trust the family that loves them and supports them. So you need to figure this out. And 5 minutes later, the phone rang and she phoned me and she said, what do I do? And I said, honey, you've made it really clear that you don't want my help. So I don't know what to tell you. You have to tell me what you want. She goes, well, I don't want him to break up with me. And I said, well, what does that mean to you? And she goes, I need your help, Mom. And I said, okay. And here's what it looks like. So she's been to recovery twice previously. Poundmaker, we talked about. She's also been to the second floor
Shout out
in
second
Cove.
floor. We're gonna put the link.
Yeah, so she spent 4 months there, did quite well because of the structure they have. Came home and things fell apart because we can't provide the same structure where we have 12 staff there every day, right? Supporting her, right? We just don't have
Yeah, I
that.
agree. Well, come on.
So anyway, I said to her, I said, Tannen, I know you've been against it. We talked about it a couple of times in the past few months. I said, but I really need you to consider going back to the second floor because you've got to work on. She lost two brothers this year, one to his lifestyle. He lived houseless in a tent behind our Bissell Center, and his heart was functioning at 13%. And then her youngest brother died of an overdose in June. So in 4 months, she lost two brothers. Her grief is absolutely, again, more layers of trauma, right? So I said,
Stings harder, like
it
the
does. And
reopening just
yeah,
reopens.
I said, I really want you to consider. She said, okay, I'll go. I said, no, no, no. This is not my decision. I'm not telling you to go. What I want you to do is go back to Matt's. I want you to talk to him and Kendra about what I've said and how you feel about it. And then I want you to call me tomorrow because our kids take time. So I did the same thing here. You need to go and talk to them. So she went home, she talked to them, and she phoned one place about an apartment, left a message. They
Mhm.
called her back. She couldn't answer a single question and hung up on them.
Yeah.
So she's agreed to go back. And so we're just waiting for a bed. And she's going to go for a long-term stay.
Okay.
And that's absolutely okay. It's what she needs right now. The
Okay.
second floor will keep the women as long as they need to.
They're the best, man. We got to
They
get them on the
are,
show. Okay. Now you brought something up. I'm going to ask a few questions because this could even be a segment because you used, I forgot about the boyfriend, but you've
yeah.
mentioned the boyfriend was been around for 6 years. Okay. 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 So that's something caregivers worry about, but don't
Yeah.
always know how to say it out loud. When she started dating, do you recall your first thoughts or concerns?
Yeah. When she wanted to meet him for the first time, I said, well, I got to meet him first.
What were your
And
concerns though? What were you worried about?
well, that she would be taken advantage of, and she had been. We'd had incidents where she had social media. She had been picked up at a support home that was rural. I thought safer, but this asshat drove all the way out to the acreage, picked her up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then dumped her.
Hmm.
And often our kids will get into relationships. It's not about, I want to be with this person, it's who will love me today.
That's right. Who's going to pay
Right?
attention to
And
me?
it could change. Like, I mean, they are in knee deep in love in the first 30 seconds.
What helped you stay calm and not panic?
Because I asked her, what is it that you like about this boy? Right? What is it about him that you like? And she said, well, he's like me, Mom. He receives AISH, our assured income for the severely
Right. So,
handicapped.
like Social Security.
He's got a gene deletion that he's a little less mature, not the same level as Tannen. And, right now he's been a flight attendant for WestJet for, yeah, go figure. And when
Okay.
we just went to see our son in Kelowna before Christmas, and he was on our flight.
Maturity wise, a bit older,
Yeah, well, he's a year younger than her, but
but we're not
I
phased in
also,
age.
what I also did was I developed a relationship with his
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
So Tannen was doing Special Olympics. Bruno immigrated from Portugal. Soccer's massive, so he decides he's going to join floor hockey and soccer, and he's going to play Special Olympics as well. The first opportunity, they're in the same building, and she's there to cheer him on, and his parents are there. I introduce myself, give them my phone number. If you have any concerns, please let me know. And I said, here's the story. And I've told Tannen I'm going to share this because I need you to know you may see some things that you don't understand. And if you have any questions, please call me because Tannen has fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and this is what it looks like on the surface for her.
Okay.
And
So
I
she,
shared
sorry,
about
she knew you were calling him, or did you not?
no,
Were
no,
you gonna?
we met them at a floor hockey game.
Here's my, because the parents say they wouldn't let me talk to the other person.
She knew I was going to talk to him.
What
Yeah.
was that convo like to them? See, I'm trying to get like, because people are like, how do I do that?
So I said to Town, in order for you to have the best relationship with Bruno as possible, you need support. And that means his parents and us and Michael and Nicole and our family supporting you, but his parents supporting him. In order for them to do that, they need to understand what you've been through. They need to understand the trauma that you lost your mom, that you lived in foster care. They
She
need
was
to
cool with
share.
that? Because you
Yeah,
know
I
her,
said,
right?
yeah, I said to her, I'm not going to share all the details, honey, but I need them to know that if they have any concerns, that they can phone me.
Okay,
And then
this
I,
hold on because the timeline you've had a pre you because you're able to have these conversations because you have had this relationship with her, right? So
yeah,
that again, there's
yeah.
been layered, right? It's not
There's
like
the other thing I do, and I've said this in the group numerous times. I am not a fan of withholding. I don't want people to know that she has FASD. We don't hide it because when you hide it, it means there's something wrong, in my opinion. And so we talk about it openly. Tannen will be out for a walk or we'll be out somewhere and she'll go, "Oh God, I want to buy this. Mom, we can't walk into a store without her coming, can I buy this?" Right? And it doesn't matter if it's something that costs $1 or $100. She has to walk out with something. And there's times when I go, "No, not today." And then there's other times I go, "I'm not willing to fight that battle."
yeah.
What I do is we talk about it and we talk about why she wants to buy that. And I say things like, "Oh, impulse control. Are we having struggles with that today?"
So you're
Right?
normalizing it, not like being condescending.
No,
You're
descending.
normalizing it.
We are normalizing it because this is what she deals with every day.
Yeah.
And the hope is over time, I mean, she's 27 right now. We know the brain matures at 25 for neurotypical people.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We think somewhere between 30 and 35.
Well, yeah,
There's
you look at
that's
Dr.
changing,
Temple's
Dr. Lavelle,
work.
and
Yes.
yeah. And so, you know, my hope is that she's always growing, right? And growth looks like I watched a movie, I stole $20. I ate some chips, but I asked for them. Growth looks like, "Mom, do you want to do a video with me?" Growth looks like, "Mom, can you explain this to Bruno?" Right? So they'll have a fight. And, I step in and go, "We agreed we wouldn't talk like that." And Bruno will get upset and he'll hang up. And then he'll call back. Or if I have to, I will phone Mom or I'll text her and say, "Hey, Tannen and Bruno are fighting about this. Here's where I see Tannen's wrong on this side, but here's where I see Bruno can make a difference." And the two of us will support them. And, they broke up about a year ago. And I got a phone call from Bruno and he was in tears. He was so cute. And he's like, "I really screwed up. Laurie, I really screwed up. And do you think she'll have me back?" And I'm like, "Oh, thank God." Right? Because I knew she was out looking for love in all the wrong places because he gives her a protective factor. He keeps her safe. She's
Right?
not out looking for love.
He is a good team member.
He is.
He is.
Because it's another boy,
It's so good.
he is. And she has a really good relationship with his mom. When they broke up, his mom was devastated. "I know this is really hard on Tannen, but I got to support him." And I'm like, "I know you do." Right? And so they have a good relationship too. So she can talk to him, to Paula. I can talk to Bruno and Paula, and it's working so far.
And you know what? It seems like so you retired from your other job, but it seems like in the FASD arena, it's like you're just getting started.
I am.
Our group and you talk about transitioning into adulthood. We just don't have the time to sit at the
Yeah,
tree of Laurie's knowledge, but you talk
yeah,
about harm reduction.
yeah.
You are open, and I know these stories because you share them, and it's really important. Is there anything before we go that you would be like, yeah, I need to make sure, like if a parent is listening to this, that they know blank?
I think, you know, that when we make suggestions for try this, or I'll go, "Oh, that poor kiddo, their brain's on fire." And, this is how you can, we're not criticizing the parent. We really work hard not to be critical. And yet, a few little changes, little mindset changes, and you can have better days. So know that everything I say is said with kindness, as all of our moderators do. We all want everyone to be successful because we've all been in their shoes.
And
We've
sometimes
all
fucking,
walked the block.
and sometimes give us a slack.
Yeah, and you know what? If I don't agree with you, that's okay. get to do what you do and
Yeah,
learn something.
there's lots of different groups too, and I mean this with like all niceness. Yeah, we might not be your tribe, right? And
Yeah.
that's okay too.
The ruts in our brain run really deep, right? What we learned from our parents, it's our go-to, it's reflex, it's automatic. And so it takes a lot of effort to jump out of that rut. And so if we're reminding you, oh, the rut in the brain goes deep, it's only because we're trying to help. And if you don't like it, that's great. That's your
Yeah,
choice. We're
nothing
okay with
personal.
that, right?
Yeah,
Where we won't allow things like conversations about corporal punishment or shaming kids. We don't allow
we got
videos,
boundaries
right?
too.
There
Absolutely.
are things that we just won't allow.
True story. But we also love to laugh. We love the
We
humor.
chuckles.
Yes, and we welcome that. One of our great moderators, Alex, he passed away a few years ago, and he was awesome. He was a wave of hilarity, and we tried to
Yes,
keep that up. We even did like a service with the group. That was
did.
powerful, and you were instrumental in
And
that.
people still talk about Alex. They still talk about
Oh,
how
yeah,
much they
I still,
miss.
yeah. Like, what a good example, right? So, like, when I'm feeling shitty, or, even if I could see in the group, there's people have been like going through it, and then you could
Yeah,
just put in something with a swear word or a
yeah,
relatable thing, and that's what we're really good at, is creating. I think you earned your nickname, the original fairy godmother, because
you.
even in this interview you talked about it's not being perfect or having magic answers. It's about being a steady voice when things are messy. It's about
Yeah,
helping people feel safe and understood when they're at
yeah,
their wits' end.
yeah.
And you do that in a way that's real, respectful, and full of heart. And we're grateful for you. And we appreciate all the work you put into that community.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, dude.
Yeah.
And this is just the first time. You talk about lots of different things, and not only do it in our community, but I have no doubt that you will have more time to talk about your experiences in training all over
Yeah,
the place. Yeah. So rock and
that's
roll.
the plan.
So yes, we will have you back, I think, to talk more about harm reduction, transition planning, all that
Transition.
stuff, right?
Yeah,
But look, it's already been 90 minutes,
I
and
know.
that's just a typical call. We could go 6 hours, which
We could.
is we have a special group of our coaches and people that work on our team, and I'm just super blessed, dude. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you very much for doing this, Laurie. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, what email? Because people might say, "Oh yeah, Laurie, come speak at our place." That's what I'm trying to say.
They can reach me at FASD
Perfect.
Success.
Yeah, you could do that.
Laurie, Laurie at FASDsuccess.com.
Cool. Awesome. We'll put that on the blog, on the page. Long overdue, but I'm glad we did it. And
Too.
like, this is perfect timing. A lot of this is timing.
Yep.
You're awesome. So thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me. I've loved it.
If your brain is overloaded raising an individual with FASD, don't worry. Mine is too. Subscribe and we'll figure this out together.